Hello Mobile Magic folks, I hope you're all doing fine today because we are going to talk about Lottie animations. Before we actually dive into the theory of what Lottie is, I'm gonna show you what we are building today. And we are building this awesome like interaction. Basically what's gonna happen is every time you click on it, an animation is going to be triggered, and every time we click on a button that has already been pressed, what's going to happen is our animation is going to be played in reverse, going back to its initial state. So that's going to make an awesome like interaction for your application, and hopefully you will make all of your apps pop up not only using this specific animation but many others that you can find inside Lottie's library. And I'm going to show you where to find them in a minute. But what is Lottie, the tool that makes all of this possible? Lottie is a simple way of adding complex animations to our apps. Before Lottie, adding animations to applications often resulted in heavy bundle sizes and hard to maintain code. Most apps weren't using animations, despite it being a powerful tool for communicating ideas, just because it was simply too complicated. What Lottie does is it renders After Effects animations which are exported with a specific plugin. And when Lottie was released, for the first time designers could create and ship beautiful animations without an engineer painstakingly having to recreate it by hand. And that makes for a perfect match because After Effects creates all the animations we're going to see. And remember that After Effects is all about awesome animations. Lottie renders it and JavaScript controls it. But you might be wondering, how do I actually use these files? Is it heavy? Well, as you can see in this statement taken directly from Lottie's website, Lottie is an open source animation file format that's tiny, high quality, interactive, and can be manipulated at runtime. If you take a closer look with me right here in the file sizes, you can see the comparison between doing the same animation using a Lottie file and a GIF. That happens because Lottie is actually imported into our projects in a JSON file, and that is super small and performatic. But enough with the theory. Let's dive into Lottie world. I'm gonna show you how to install it, how to use it, and where to find animations to our apps. Alright, so now we are at Lottie's official documentation page, and what we have to do in order to install Lottie inside our React Native applications is first of all create a React Native application. So I'm going to do this React Native using npx React Native init, and I'm going to call my project, I don't know, Lottie tuto. Now that my application has successfully been created, I will navigate into its folder, so cd Lottie tuto, and I'm going to install both of these dependencies which are needed to use Lottie in React Native. The first one of them is Lottie React Native, and the second one is Lottie iOS at a specific version, Lottie iOS. So let's just install these. And now we have a React Native application and the dependencies we need in order to run Lottie. But we don't have any Lottie animation just yet. And I'm going to head over to a website that's gonna fix this for us. The website is called lottiefiles.com. The link to it is gonna be in the video's description. So if you just click here on free animations, please load, you are going to see a lot of free animations that you can use inside any app you might want, and at least these ones are free. Lottie file has animations that are paid, but these ones are free at least. So we have endless pages of free animations. And you can just browse through them and choose whatever fits you the best. You can also search for specific stuff. So if I wanted a 404 animation, I can just search it here and let's wait for it. We are going to have a lot of available for all 4 animations, and all of them are just so awesome. But we are not building a 404 application today. What we're doing is a like one, and I already have a specific link, and I already have the link to the specific file we will be using today, and it is, wait a minute, I'm gonna make a quick cut here and come back in a second. So this is the animation I just showed you in the intro. In its initial state, it's just a blank heart, and when the animation runs, it fills the heart, it's super beautiful, and its end state is just like this. How can we import this animation inside our project? Well, basically, we just have to download it. We want to download a Lottie JSON. You can also download it as a GIF and an MP4. But if you're using Lottie, there's not really a point in importing this as a GIF or an MP4. That would just make your animation heavier. But if you are using these animations somewhere that you cannot use Lottie, you can download a GIF or an MP4 as well. But we are going to use a Lottie JSON, so that's it. What I'm going to do is I am going to copy this file right here, and I'm going to paste it inside our application that we have just created, which is this Lottie tutorial one. I'm going to create a folder called assets inside of it, and I'm going to paste this and rename it just to like.json. And there it is. We have all that we need in order to start coding. So I'm back and running our application inside an emulator. As you can see, this is just a basic bootstrapped React Native init application. Nothing really special here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this with a React Native function with a text of hello Lottie inside of it. And yes, it is working. I want this text to be centered, so I'm going to import a style sheet, and I'm going to create a constant called const styles equals style sheet.create, and I want to create a style of main, and it's going to be it's going to have a flex of 1, a justify content of center, and an item alignment of center as well. Now I have to apply this style to my view. Style equals styles dot main, I'm sorry, and everything should be working as expected. Yes, it is. Well, but we do not want a text in the center of our application. We want an animation. What we need to do in order to have that animation is, first of all, import Lottie view from Lottie React Native. Lottie view, and the name is pretty self-explanatory. It's a view in which we are going to pass our Lottie file as a source, and it's going to display our animation. But beyond our Lottie view, we also have to import our animation itself. And if you recall correctly, I have placed our animation inside a folder called assets with the name of like.json, so I'm going to import that. Import like from assets like.json, and I'm going to replace this text right here with a Lottie view with the source pointing to like. Oops, here it is. Let me save this. And an error has been triggered. Let me just reload this. Yeah, so our animation is right here. Let me click it. As you might have realized, our animation isn't animated at all because we have to explicitly tell it to be animated. We have basically 2 ways of animating things in Lottie. The one I'm going to show you right now gives you more control overall, so that's what we're going to use. But basically we can pass a prop called progress, I'm so sorry, progress, where is my autocomplete here, progress. And progress expects a value ranging from 0 to 1, in which 0 is the beginning of the animation and 1 is the end of it. So for instance, if I pass the value of 1 here, our animation is finished. If I pass the value of 0.5 here, our animation is halfway through, and so on and so on. So as you have realized, what happens is our progress is going to be equivalent of the progress of the animation. So in order for our Lottie view to be actually animated, what we want to do is we want to have a way of updating our progress in a steady way from one value to another in a specific range of time. Thankfully for us, React Native has a module that helps us do this, and the module is Animated. Animated basically is a library. One of the resources that is all about animations is a function called animated.timing. Animated.timing allows us to take a value and mutate it from one value to another in a specific range of time, which is specifically what we want right now. So let's use an animated value. In order to use an animated value, we are going to use two things. One of them is the useRef hook from React, and the second one of them is the animated module itself. We are going to set a constant called progress, and we are going to set it to the value of useRef, and the value of useRef is going to receive the value of new animated.value starting with 0, and if you recall correctly, use whichever value we pass right here to useRef is available at the .current path inside our useRef. Why do we need a useRef? Well, basically because we want to declare this value once and only refer to it. We do not want this value to be remounted every time our component is remounted. Okay, so let me just pass this progress value to our progress, and nothing happens because we are not updating our value yet. We need to have a way of updating it, and the way we are going to update it is using a constant called I'm just going to declare a function here. The name of it is gonna be, I don't know, like animation handle like animation, and what it's going to do is it is going to call the animated.timing function. Animated.timing expects two values. The first one of them is the value that is going to be mutated. It needs to be an animated value, it cannot be a common value, so we are going to pass progress to it. And the second value that it expects is an object containing some properties. The first property that is expected inside this object is the toValue prop, which basically is our target value. So in our case right here, we are starting with 0 and we want to go to 1. The second thing that animated.timing expects is the duration of the timing. So we are going to pass 1 second or 1000 milliseconds here. The last prop that is required in animated.timing is the useNativeDriver1. Basically, this is going to decide whether your animation is going to be run in the native thread or in the JavaScript thread. Just pass this as true, but this is a bit more complicated than that, and useNativeDriver and its logics and all deserve another video. So tell me in the description if you would like a video just talking about the animated module and useNativeDriver and all other specificities. Now that we have the animated.timing function, we need to tell it to start right away when we call it. And here it is. We have a function that is able to start updating our value. But you might have noticed that it is not being called anywhere. That's because we have no way of calling it just yet. What we're going to do in order to be able to call it is we are going to wrap Lottie view inside a touchable opacity. And touchable opacity is going to allow us to pass a prop called onPress, which is not available on Lottie View. And the onPress the onPress prop is going to trigger a function for us every time it is pressed. So let me just do this on press, and I'm going to pass a handle like animation. Touchable opacity also needs specific width and height values, because if it doesn't have them, what is going to happen is it's going to disappear just like it did right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare a value called opacity. I'm going to declare a new style called opacity, and I'm going to set the width of it equals to 200, and the height of it also to 200. I'm going to pass this style right here, style to, it's styles.opacity, not only opacity. And now if I click this, my touchable opacity is not being triggered. What's going on? I'm just going to run my application again because something strange is happening. If you are used with React Native, you know that every time I press a touchable opacity, it should have a little animation, just like this one. And as you might have realized, our application is already working, but not completely. There's one thing lacking, which is once we press our animation, it's not going back, because we are only saying our progress will go from 0 to 1, and we are not prepared
what
to
I'm
the
going
case
to do
of
here
it
is I'm just going
from
to
1
use
to
a
0. Use state, and I'm going to treat this. Well, imagine that you are in the middle of an application, and you're probably going to have a state or a prop or something that tells if your application has been liked or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use const has liked and set has liked to be the values of our use state. It's going to begin as a false value because our button comes empty by default. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a constant, const called new value. A new value is going to check if our application has been liked. If it has been liked, our new value has to be 0. And if it hasn't, we are setting our value to 1 because we need it to be filled. After our animation, what we are going to do is I'm going to set has liked to the opposite of what it is right now. And I'm going to pass new value to value, and let's see what happens. So if I click once, it fills the heart. And if I click it again, it unfills the heart. So this is it for today, folks. This is a super simple tutorial of this super awesome tool that is Lottie. I really hope that it helps some of you. I'm gonna leave the code to this in a GitHub repo available in the description of the video. I'm also gonna leave the link of this specific heart animation. What else do I have to say? If you like this video, please consider subscribing and giving it a like. If you suggested me a new testing tutorial in the last video, I'm working on those. I'm working on a network testing video and also a Redux testing video, which should come out next week. And that's it. I hope you really enjoyed my video. I have really enjoyed making it for you. So goodbye.